For those of you just tuning in, I'm in the process of cooking up a deep tournament run here at the EPT 5,300 euro main event in Barcelona, Spain. My flight from Montreal got cancelled, so I missed the entirety of day one, but managed to get here just in time as the very last person to register for the tournament on day two with just 20 big blinds and a dream. Well, we did pretty well yesterday as we're starting day three now with 147,000 chips, which is around 37 big blinds. We're only 6 players away from the money, and it's a massive bubble worth 8,700 euros.
So we have 6 of these. Each decision is now 30 seconds. If I put one of these on the table, pre-flop we have 15 seconds. If I get 3-bet, I have 30 seconds on the flop, and turn river, 30 seconds. So interesting. I only get 6 of these for the rest of the day. I gotta make them worth it. Let's go.
We start our day on the secondary feature table and immediately get into a crazy pot. We're at the 2K, 4K, 4K blind level. I open up the +2 to 9K with pocket sevens, my favorite hand. You know this one's gonna be a banger. The button calls and the big blind calls 3 ways to the flop, but 33K in the middle, which comes queen of diamonds, 9 of diamonds, 7 of hearts. In between 2 opponents, we usually could start with a check. That's what I decide to do, and the button fires out now for 20K. When the big blind folds, we're in an interesting spot. I could check raise here and try to get stacks in by the turn, or I could just call, but I don't want the button to check behind on the turn and get a free card and get to the river cheaply. So I decided to go for the check raise to 45,000, and without much thought, the button now jams on me 119K, and this isn't a snap call. Well, we're in a tough spot here where we're 3 away from an 8,700 euro cash. So that's something to consider. We have our favorite hand, which is bottom set on this board. There are 2 diamonds and some straight ideas out there, so I don't think I can fold. Coupled with the fact that it's only around another 70K for me to call, I put in the call, but we only have 20K behind.
Lally all in here against Wolfgang at the secondary feature table. 2 pair against a set.
So off to a run out we go. We can only run it once in these beautiful EPT tournaments. 272K in the middle. In the turn comes the deuce of clubs. Gotta fade 4 outs here on the river, so approximately 10% chance that she hits one of her 4 cards, but it doesn't come. The 3 of diamonds seals her fate. Huge pot coming over to the good guys from America. 100% chance taking in a 272K pot. Bang, let's go. I'm pumped. The biggest spot of the tournament so far. My adrenaline is through the roof, and of course, we have to celebrate.
7. It's the best hand ever created.
He's a cowboy.
When I was 19, I got that hand, I flopped quads, and I didn't know etiquette, poker. I won a hand for like $900, and I left right away. Because now I think it's funny. I'm like, I'm like, why did I do that? Flop queen 9-7. Queen 9 versus pocket 7s. Safin.
We find ourselves on the stone cold bubble, meaning the next person to get eliminated from the tournament will leave with $0, and everybody else in the tournament, all 287 of them, will at least cash for 8,700 euros. So big spot here, small blind versus big blind. I decide to limp king deuce offsuit, and Sereniero decides to check his option. The flop comes queen 8-8, and the action goes check check. More of the same on the turn. I don't really want to lead out here and get called by better, so check check on the turn. But now when the river comes the 9 of spades and Sereniero has not bet in position on flop or turn, I decide to take this away from him. For instance, if he has a hand like pocket 4s, pocket 5s, pocket 6s, there's a chance he might just fold here and we can take down 3 big blinds. So I bet out small here for 7,000 chips. He folds, and it turns out we had the best hand all along.
This guy knows what's good for poker.
You play
banging people.
Games or no? You do?
It's always fun learning about other people's home games, especially when they're all the way across the world. If you guys are subscribers of my channel, you know that I post a ton of home games in the US, but learning about Sereniero's home game in Italy was just kind of a cool experience. Who knows, maybe one day I'll find myself in that home game. But we find ourselves again on the stone cold bubble. Hasn't broke yet, so
Wolfgang on the button with king 8. Gone over to the secondary feature table now.
I have king 8 offsuit on the button, and I decide to come in for a standard raise. I make it 9K instead of 8 because we have to get through the 2 blinds, and they're pretty incentivized to put in the call considering they have some money already invested. We're only going to get the big blind this time. That's Barnes, and he calls, and the flop comes king 8 deuce. Bang, we flop 2 pair.
King 8 deuce, 2 pair for Wolfgang.
Let's keep Barnes's hand a mystery for now. It's kind of a fun spot where you guys can play along with me on an 8,700 euro bubble. We have 2 pair in position. Barnes checks it over to us. 24K in the middle. I go for a nice little bet here. I'm trying to get called by some flush draws. Of course, a king is never folding, and then I want some ace queen, ace jack highs to call as well. So I bet 8K into the pot. And look at that, our opponent looks us up, finds the call, and the turn comes the ace of diamonds. It's a card that really shouldn't change too much. Sure, he could have hit it and now has a pair, but it's pretty unlikely he has me beat with my 2 pair. So when he checks it over to me for a second time, what am I really scared of? If I want to check behind here and give him a free card, I think I have the option to do so. The only thing we don't want to see on the river is a spade, but checking here and getting a brick might incentivize Barnes to go for a bluff. Also, if he just has a middling pocket pair like 9s, 10s, 8-7 suited, king jack suited, he probably is only going to call one more bet. So if I bet large here on the turn, he's probably going to fold to a bet on the river. So I decided to get tricky here, and I have the king of spades, which blocks a lot of his spade flush draws. So I check behind here, giving him some rope on the river. The river is an interesting one. It comes the queen of spades, but like I said, having the king of spades is very important because it blocks hands like king 10 of spades, king jack of spades, ace king of spades. And look at that, Barnes now decides to lead out into us for 14K. It's a pretty small bet. There's 40K in the middle, so now it's bumped up to 54. Of course, I'm never folding 2 pair. Of course, we put in the snap call. He turns over 8-9 of hearts, so my sneaky check on the turn made us an additional 14K. He turned his pair of 8s into a bluff, and we are going to stay alive on the bubble and live to fight another hand. That was a pretty good hand, I might say. A lot of people are just betting that turn and Barnes is going to find an easy fold, but sometimes mixing in some checks can prove to be pretty profitable. And just like that, after a 90-minute bubble, it finally burst. We're down to 287 players left out of the 1,975 that entered. What does that mean? We have locked up 8,700 euros. So no matter what, we are in Profitsville. And that feels pretty good. Another score going on the Hendon Mob, back-to-back EPTs that I've at least min-cashed. All right, with 234 players left, we find ourselves at the 2K, 5K, 5K blind level. I open up pocket fours, my buddy Rampage's favorite hand, to 11K, and the big blind is the only customer. Off to a flop, heads up with 29K in the middle, which comes 10, 10, 4, bang, we flop a boat. What an absolute dream situation. We have a ton of chips in our stack, and we're looking to find a double up here. If the opponent has a 10x, we're almost assuredly getting all the money in the middle. When the opponent checks it over to me, I decide to go very small here. I don't want to check behind and not get some value on the flop. If I go small, I'm probably going to get called by all the king highs, ace highs, and just random pocket pairs. But if I check behind here, we miss out on value, and who knows, Barnes might be able to go for the check raise on the flop, and then we can get super greedy. So I go really small here for 8K, and he puts in the call. With 45K in the middle, the turn comes the king of hearts. Interesting card for my range. I'm going to have the ace king, king queen. So when he checks it over to me, I think with my entire range here, I probably would go for a bet. It just helps that I do have one of the best hands on this board, pocket fours. I don't really think he's going to have pocket kings. He, of course, could have king 10. That would make a lot of sense from the big blind, but I'm going to bet out for 21K, and once again, Barnes finds the call. The river card is an interesting one. It comes the jack of hearts. It completes hands like ace queen, queen 9, and the dreaded jack 10. Hopefully he doesn't have that. When he checks it over to me, we're now in an interesting spot.
Well, of course, we have a secondary feature table as well, headlined by Wolfgang Poker, and he's in a hand here against Alan Barnes. A full house for Wolfgang.
There's 87K in the middle, and the only thing I'm thinking about here is how large should I bet? I'm never checking behind with a full house. We can still get value versus hands like 10-9, Queen-10, Ace-10, stuff like that. Maybe even a hand like Queen-9 or Ace-Queen would call us for a nice size bet. Of course, he could have King-10 or Jack-10, but if he decides to raise me after I go for a bet, well, we're gonna have a tough decision. Still, it's a no-brainer bet. I go for a Cinco de Mayo 55. Gotta throw that in there when it's applicable, and Barnes goes into the tank, but he doesn't think too long. He now rips it on me for 184K, and we are in a gross spot. Sure, we have a full house, but when the opponent goes for the check, call, check shove line, well, it's gonna be King-10. It's gonna be Jack-10, which is really disgusting if he got there on the river, and that's pretty much about it. He's not gonna have kings or jacks. He's not gonna have 10-4, especially because I have two of those in my hand. So it's either King-10, Jack-10. Maybe he would do this with a straight, but that's only if he's a real big amateur, and I just don't have enough information on Barnes at this point.
Just got lucky. That's sick.
Yeah, seems to have the right idea here, James.
Yeah.
It's 129K more for me to call. There's already 326K in the middle. I really could find the fold here, but ultimately, after thinking about it for a while, I do in fact put in the call. My opponent shows me the disgusting news. Jack-10 offsuit. He hit his hand on the river. Almost assuredly, I was going to be winning a massive pot if he doesn't hit a 10 or a jack on the river, but that's how poker goes sometimes. 234 players left, and our chip stack is decimated all the way down to 89K. It's a brutal spot here. If we win this pot, we would be up to around 550K, but instead we're under the 100K mark for the first time in the tournament on day 3. So a very tough spot here. I take a step away from the table to compose myself. The last thing I want to do now is get my stack in bad off of tilt. I have to keep in mind I'm fortunate enough to still be in the tournament, and this is just the brutal side of poker, but it's time to buckle down and get back to work. It's do or die time now with 225 players left. We are getting close to another pay jump. If 2 more players bust, we'll get paid out 10,050 euros, so a nice little bump there. But we only have 15 big blinds here, and King Jack suited when Kuzmanovic opens up the button to 10K at the 5K big blind level. Seems like a pretty good spot for me to shove from the big blind with King Jack of diamonds. When it folds back around to him, little friendly table talk, and he finds the fold. So nice little chip up there from us. We're gonna add an additional 12K to our stack. He asked me if I would have called a shove. Didn't really know how to answer that. Should I just snap said yes? Do I just be silent? That's kind of not my MO, so.
I mean, I don't have aces or kings, so that tells you that much, right?
We get that nice little pay jump. There's 222 players left, so now we have 10,000 euros locked up. A little bit more of the same here. The hijack, I won't even try to pronounce his last name. He opens it up to 11K with ace-8 of diamonds. I'm in the small blind now with king-queen offsuit and 99K in my stack. It's just south of 20 big blinds, but I think this is a great spot once again to get my entire stack in the middle. Most likely we'll be flipping. Sometimes we'll be dominating hands like king-10, king-jack, king-9 suited if he wants to call off here, but he only has 132K in his stack, so just a little bit more than myself, and ultimately decides to fold. So look at that. We have chipped up nicely once again now to 122K. And that's where the secondary feature table comes to an end. They end up moving my table back out onto the main floor, but don't worry, I have 3 camera angles to capture every second of what's about to come. We're now at the 3K, 6K, 6K blind level, and we are 1 player away from another pay jump. We've locked up 10K so far. If 1 more player busts, we'll lock up 11,600 euros. So definitely something to take in consideration.
How's it been going so far?
Great. I made $10,000, which is more than a lot of people in the world. However, we got coolered by this guy right over here from Canada. I thought they were supposed to be really nice. They're not. They hit rivers on you.
I only have 15 big blinds here, and we'd find ourselves in a small blind versus big blind spot. The small blind decides to limp. I check my option here with Jack 3 of hearts, and we flop ourselves top pair on a Jack 9-6 board with all diamonds. When the small blind checks it over to myself, I decide to rip in my 13 big blind stack with my top pair, and fortunately we do get a fold from the small blind. The logic was shoving there, as I think I can get called by a hand like ace 9, 9, 10, and if he has just one diamond, he might decide to pay me off. If you look over at his chip stack, he had around 300 to 400k, so I don't think he was too worried about my 13 big blinds, but he did fold, and now we are up to 100,000 chips. We do end up getting that pay jump, so 11,600 euros locked up, and we're gonna put those chips to use again. They are not collecting dust over here. All in, ace king of spades from the hijack. Let's see if we can pick up any customers. After I shove all in, I look behind me, and it's none other than Masato, one of the biggest poker content creators in the world, is sitting just a table behind me, so of course I have to get him involved.
Someone's gonna call me. It's gonna happen.
The player in the +1 is none other than Jack KJdd, and I only know how to pronounce his last name because Joe Stapleton has said it hundreds of times over the past 10 years. He's an EPT main event staple, and honestly one of the most fun players that I was playing against on day 3. But he decides to put in the call here, and we have him absolutely dominated. Ace king versus ace 9. The flop comes pretty great for us. It eliminates his possibility of hitting the 9 of spades because now we would have the nut flush. The turn comes the 3 of hearts, followed by a blank on the river. I tell everyone to subscribe to Masato.
Subscribe to Masato. He's good luck. He's good luck.
Out of pure excitement and joy, because we have just doubled up, we have some life, and of course I'm a tournament newbie and I have no idea how many big blinds I now have.
You're fired. He's been here for like 10 hours straight. He leaves for 1 minute and I double up. Hasta luego, homie.
On top of all that, one of my good friends and filmer for the week, Moises, decided to take a much needed break. Right when I got that double up, he comes back and sees how many chips I have and is immediately confused, so of course I have to needle him. The one break he takes all day, I find a much needed double up.
We're feeling pretty good. We're still in the tournament. 146 left. 3 more to a pay jump to like 13k euros, so feeling pretty good. Let's go study.
Coming back from dinner break, I feel refreshed and ready to go. There's 146 players left. If we can get to 143, we lock up 13,300 euros. So definitely something to keep in mind. I have 108k in my stack. Coming back to the 4k, 8k, 8k blind level.
I'm not good enough to know what to do with this chart.
We look down from the low jack with king 10 of diamonds. I decide to min raise to 16k, and seat 5 puts in the call. The big blind calls as well, so we are off 3 ways to the flop, which comes pretty great for me. Ace jack 8 with 2 diamonds, flopping a gutter to Broadway, and having the nut flush draw is a pretty great situation to be in, and considering how short I am, it's going to be pretty easy to get my entire stack in the middle. I either could go for a check shove, or I could bet small here, get 1 or 2 players to call, and then shove the turn. I decide on the latter route, and I bet out for 14k. Interesting spot here now when the cutoff decides to raise me to 50k, and we lose our 3-way. The action's back over to me, and not much thought. I didn't just invest a third of my chip stack to fold, so I rip my entire stack in for 92k total, and he snaps it off with ace 8. So a classic situation here. We have 2 pair versus a straight draw flush draw, and we're gonna run this board out once because that's all we can do here. So a 244k pot is brewing. If we want to stay in this tournament, we gotta hit one of many cards. Hopefully we don't have too many out syndrome, but look at that, the poker gods reward me right on the turn. The jack of diamonds, bang, we turn the nut flush. We don't want to see a board pairing card, and the river is not that, it's the 10 of clubs. Look how excited I am. 244k coming over my way, and just like that, we have over 30 big blinds and a dream, and we are super close to another pay jump.
Yeah, you know, just got it in, doubled up. I spent the whole break looking at stuff for 13 big blinds. What do I do with 32 bigs? I don't know.
All right, we have a bunch of chips in our stack. We're feeling great. If you want to see an interesting hand, this hand is the one for you. We're going to go against our good buddy Jack Kiriakis, who decides to limp for 8K. You don't see that too often. So of course I have to 3-bet him here, where I look down at ace jack suited and I make it 22K to go. Of course, he puts in the call. He's not limping from early position to fold. I was a little bit scared he was going to go for the limp shove, but he didn't do it this time. I put my sweatshirt over my neck. I don't want to give them any free reads. If I could choose a board that doesn't give me a pair, queen 9-8 with 2 clubs would be exactly what I'd cook up. We have a gutter to the straight and a nut flush draw. I feel like I'm just using the exact same audio from the last hand, but it's the truth. I have the nut flush draw and a gutter to the straight. Now I'd expect Jack to check it over to me, so of course he does the exact opposite. He was the craziest player that I've seen in this entire 3-day tournament, so it's not unexpected for him to do the unexpected and bet out here for 40K. Of course I'm going nowhere. Do I ever just want to shove on him here and get him to fold a hand like pocket 10s, pocket jacks, something like that? Nah, I think just putting in the call here and picking up a good card on the turn is the better move, but of course it doesn't come. It's one of the worst cards in the deck. It pairs the board, so now hands he has like queen 8, 9-8, pocket 9s, all have me absolutely smoked.
How much do you have? Take it off.
And now to make matters worse, he doesn't give me a chance to catch up. He just decides to rip it all in my face. A little bit of table talk as well.
Is it such a bad turn?
Yeah, it was.
Should I, like 7 hearts, I call you?
Speaking of my face, look at it. I am absolutely disgusted here. I had so many outs on the flop. I did well in that last hand, hitting a flush on the turn, but it's not the same here in this one. This is a 282K pot, and it could be larger if I put in the call here. I just don't think it's wise to call off here with a flush and a straight draw on a paired board. So after a little bit of thought, I decide to fold my cards. And Jack, being the stand-up guy that he is,
You was very behind.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had 10-8 of clubs.
he tables 10-8 of clubs. So a club on the turn, surely we would have got stacks in and doubled up, but of course he hits a miracle 8 on the turn, allows him to shove, and we are going to lose a massive pot here at the 8K big blind level. With 17 big blinds in our stack, we look down at 7-8 of diamonds. Surprisingly, the action folds around to me in the small blind. I look over to my left. It's a familiar face, Marley, Team Pro Poker Stars Marley, comedian, content creator, and all-around great person. She's in the big blind. Of course, I'm going to shove it all in on her with 7-8 of diamonds, and she calls it off for 36K in her stack with Queen 3 of spades. So she has the slight edge on me here, but when the flop comes 5-4-3 with 2 diamonds, I have other ideas. The turn comes a jack of diamonds, giving me the flush right away, and the river is inconsequential. I tap the table out of respect, which means Marley is eliminated from the tournament, and we're picking up a nice 80K pot. A little Poker Stars versus Poker Stars violence there, but when it's all said and done, you can't have any friends at the poker table or feel bad for anyone, because with Marley busting, that's one less player between me and my share of the 10.5 million euro prize pool. And you gotta believe I'm gunning for that top prize. A few more orbits after, they call it for day 3, which means we are bagging again. Back-to-back day 4s, first Monte Carlo, now Barcelona, 146,000 chips going into the bag, and we're coming back to the 5K, 10K, 10K blind level. Also great to note is only 113 players are left, which means we have 15,350 euros locked up.
Day 4, baby, day 4, let's go. Back-to-back day 4s, Monte Carlo, Barcelona. I think I'm going deeper this time.
All in all, day 3 was comical to say the least. We started with 147,000 chips, played a bunch of levels, a bunch of hours, a bunch of all-ins, and ended up with 1,000 less chips, 146 coming back for day 4. While every other player heads to their hotel room for a much deserved and needed rest before day 4, I'm on the hook for a few minutes of interviews. I gotta talk about the mystery cash challenge I played in Monte Carlo, which is out on the PokerStars YouTube as of right now. PokerStars also wanted me to talk about the NAPT Gold Pass that I was giving away in the last video, and guess what? A winner was randomly selected and I pinned him in the comments below, so go check right now if you won. Who would have thought day 4 is in the cards for this guy? Tomorrow, we're coming back around 15 big blinds, which doesn't sound like a lot. If you're from Europe, let me know down in the comments. I think I'm getting a lot of new European subscribers, would be awesome. And a huge shout out to PokerStars for having me out here. It's been a blast, but it's gonna continue. Let's go! Coming back for day 4, we got the fresh fit on. Yes, those are actually my handprints from when I was a baby, so you can't call me a bandwagon Bulls fan when we start to get good in the next few years. But we got a fresh fit on. We're feeling pretty good. 15 big blinds and a dream. Coming back to day 4, my table does look a little bit pro heavy, so we have our work cut out for us, but I'll share a very easy spot to play. Our stack is down to 111K after the blinds go through us a few times, and I pick up pocket jacks from under the gun. Sitting on 11 big blinds with a premium hand, it's a no-brainer shove. Put my head down and shove my stack into the middle. Gets back around to the button, who folds. Small blind folds over to the big blind, who thinks about it for a while, asks for a count. And when it's not a snap call, we definitely want to get called now. We are in a great spot to double up to over 20 big blinds, but he folds. So I shove my cards into the middle, take down an additional like 25K in chips, which is pretty good. 3 more big blinds coming my way. But remember how I started with 146K only to report to you guys the first hand started with 111K? Kind of a similar thing here. The blinds went through me a few more times. I looked down with 86K now in my stack, so just between 8 and 9 big blinds, we are on life support. Surprisingly, the action folds around to the small blind, who doesn't think for too long before ripping his entire stack all in the middle. Tough spot for me here. I have 8.5 big blinds. Blind versus blind situation. King high is kind of looking like a premium. He's gonna be ripping it all in here with hands like 7-8 suited, Jack 10 offsuit, Queen 10 offsuit. King 5 in my hand is gonna be ahead of a lot of his small blind shoving range. It's only an 8 big blind shove, so he definitely could be doing it pretty wide. Of course, he could have an ace in his hand. He could have a pocket pair higher than my 5, and I would be in tough shit. But at the same time, I'm already in tough shit because I only have 8 big blinds here. We gotta put our chips in sometime. You don't wanna just blind down to 4 or 5 big blinds and then you get a double up and I'm in the exact same situation. So while I still have chips to battle with, I wanna find the double up here. We would have 18 big blinds if we get the double, and I put my money where my mouth is and put it in here. King 5 offsuit in the middle, and we get the bad news. The small blind woke up with an absolute premium, pocket 10s. Well, even though we're behind, we get to see 5 cards. I want to see running 5, some sort of wheel, maybe a king or Broadway to give me a straight. But the flop comes 9, 8, 7, we now have a gutter. The turn comes the 8 of hearts, so only a few cards will help us at this point. And we got one with the 6 of clubs on the river. Look at my reaction. Oh wait, why is everyone confused? Did I not win? Look at his hand, pocket 10s, our gutter was not good. He rivered the 10 high straight. What a way to exit the tournament, thinking I got the double up with the miracle 6 on the river, only for the villain to have a much better hand, a straight to the 10, but we're gonna take it in stride here. 99th place though, so at least I made it to double digits. Of course, the floor guy is right behind me.
Good call? Yeah. No.
Our reward, 15,350 euros for our efforts here at EPT Barcelona.
You good? Yep. All right, you guys, sad to report here. Obviously, the video is coming to an end. I'm going to update you on how much I made and how I feel about it, and then right after that, I'm going to update you on my dad. Okay, happy stuff first. We cashed in the tournament, 99th place, so I beat out like 1,900 people. Awesome run, super grateful for that. I made 15,350 euros. I just converted on my phone. Moist tearing up over there. I made 15,350 euros, just converted in my phone for all you Americans out there, and that's around 17,000 American dollars, which pretty awesome to report back. I finally crossed 6 figures on Hen and Mob. I have 101,000 now in total earnings, which is pretty cool. I just started playing tournaments like a few months ago, so pretty awesome to dabble into the 6-figure mark. But shout out to PokerStars having me out here. 5,300 main event is nothing to shy away from, and really stoked to make it to day 4. Wish I could have found the double there with King 5. If you saw the ending, you know that I thought I had a straight, but the guy to my right had the better hand. And once they informed me, my heart kind of went into my stomach. I was like, are you kidding me? Now some family updates. And in Monaco, I updated you. My dad, he I can't even talk. In Monaco, I updated you guys that my dad was going through leukemia, which is a form of cancer of the blood. Okay, get it together. He was like my best friend, my role model. My sister and I were in Houston for a while in the last 2 months while he was struggling, and just being there for him in the hospital. And we were there when he took his last breath. He went out peacefully, which was good, but just really, really crushed. Yeah, and it just a bummer for the entire family. We had to go through all this stuff, and the last 2 months I haven't been posting very much, and that's kind of the reason why I don't really like to talk about personal stuff, but I feel like I need to give you guys closure on that because I brought it up in Monaco. We had to go through his stuff. I found this shirt, and I found this necklace of his right here, and so I've been wearing it the entire tournament. And he was with me here today and every day here in Barcelona, so I know he's really proud of me, and I'm really proud of him for everything he went through. It was horrible at the end, but at the end of his life, he told me how proud he was of all my poker stuff, and I got to take him to one of my favorite spots in Houston, coincidentally, where he was getting treatment. I was at Champions, and I brought him by the live stream table, and he's like, I've seen you on the table. So it just really meant a lot, and he's gonna be with me every step of my poker journey. I love you, Papa. Okay, that's it. We had a lot of people on the team to make this video possible. We had Moises, who came out from Los Angeles. We had Jorge and Vinny. A huge shout out to all of them. And if you guys like this content, don't do it just because I'm crying, but if you like my stuff, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and you better believe I'll be back to win a tournament for my dad, for you guys, and just for myself as well. It'd be pretty cool to take one down. So appreciate the support, you guys. 15K going into the bankroll, but don't worry, it's not being locked away. We're putting it back to use. In a few more days, another awesome video will come out. Thanks for everything. I love you guys. Peace.